Hello everyone, welcome back. Have you ever thought about what credit card should we use while we are traveling abroad? Today I want to talk about that. Do you like to travel? Have you thought about how people are able to afford those YOLO trips like luxurious hotels and first class flight tickets? I've been doing it for more than 10 years. I'm Paul. Please consider following me and subscribing to my channel. Let's embark this journey together. And maybe we can meet each other on a first class flight and pop some champagnes together. So let's get everyone on the same page here first. What I want to talk about in this video is mainly focusing when you left the US and at your destination. What are the different expenses categories that you can expect? We are not talking about anything related to planning, like when you're booking for your flight, when you're booking for your hotels, or when you're booking for your rental cars. One of the most common expense that you will be definitely doing a lot while you're outside of US, for example in Paris, while you want to sip some coffee with some croissant, then those kind of expenses will be related to dining, related to eating. So when it comes to dining, one of the most common category that you will hit for expenses would definitely be the restaurants. And whenever we talk about restaurants, this particular card would definitely come in mind, which is the Amex Gold card, because it has a really great multiplier, the 4x points back on restaurants. It does have other kind of perks like different credits scattered around. However, the problem is that it has a $325 annual fee, and that is high for a lot of people out there, especially that this card, in order to get the value back, you have to manufacture spending on different like for example Uber, Dunkin' Donuts and Ressy's in order to use and utilize those kind of credits. So this is more like a coupon book in a sense. And for me, applying or not applying for a card is mainly about the opportunity cost. An Amex is usually an end game card for most people because of different rules or from other issuers, especially from Chase with the 524 rules. Like you can only have five new accounts on your personal credit file for the last 24 months. If you have more than that, you won't be able to apply for new Chase cards in that sense. And therefore, for me, even for me myself, I don't have this Amex Gold card yet because I don't want to burn up that one slot so that I'm barred from applying for other Chase cards in a sense. So I do have the Amex Platinum card because it does bring me a lot of value, especially when it comes to lounges, credits, and perks, and also the multipliers for booking flights in a sense. So do we have other choices then, other than the gold Amex card for restaurant spendings? Of course we do. Let me introduce you to the most famous family in the credit card world, which is the Sapphire card family. And they're from Chase, which means that they are bounded by the 524 rules. And there are mainly two members in this family. One is the preferred, which is a lower tier one, and the reserve, which is a higher tier one. And since they have very similar multipliers when it comes to restaurants, I'm just going to group them together to talk about that. They have the same three times of the restaurant uh, multiplier for spending. And they also have an interesting category which is called other travel. So these are the expenses that are related to any kind of travel. And I'm going to go into details at later part of the video. They also have other multipliers, but they are not really relevant to what we're talking today, so I'm going to skip those. And on top of these kind of multipliers, they also have certain kind of credits to offset the annual fee in a way. As you can see, the Reserve card has a high annual fee, $550. But because the 300 annual travel credits is not difficult to use, you can simply buy a ticket online with one of the airline, and then you can basically use that annual travel credits in that sense. So it's a good way to offset that hefty annual fee in a way. But to me, most importantly, the Sapphire card is needed whenever you need to transfer points out from your Chase system. You can have a lot of different Freedom cards to supplement to that system, but just having Freedom cards, you can't transfer your points out. Therefore, the Sapphire cards are the gateways for transferring points out. I'm talking about personal cards only here. I know that if you have one of the cards from the Inc. business family, you're able to transfer your points out that way too. But not everyone wants to apply for business cards. So that's why I am mainly focusing on Sapphire cards here. And in order to be in the Chase point system, you have to have this card in order to make those systems to be effective and useful for you, because you need transfer partners to make it work. And since you are going to have one of these Sapphire cards anyway, why don't you just use it on restaurants in that sense then? So that's why they are a very good card to use for restaurant expenses. However, there is one thing that everyone needs to look out for, which are the restaurants inside of a hotel. So I went to the Park Hyatt at Dubai and went to this restaurant that's within the hotel, which is called Twiggy. Really excellent view from from that particular restaurant, very excellent food, and really great service as well. So I used a restaurant card to pay for it, and when I looked at the statement, it was coded as Hyatt. I would have got a lot more points if I used a Hyatt co-branded card for that. But instead, I used a restaurant card, so I missed out on the points. Therefore, I advise everyone, whenever they stay at a hotel and pay for any kind of dining inside of the hotel, even if it's like a restaurant that is a little bit outside, but if it's associated with a hotel, always pay using a co-branded card of that particular hotel chain instead of using a restaurant cards. Unless if you do not have that co-branded card for that hotel, for that chain, then you can use the card which I'm going to talk about in the next section. So I don't know about you, but I don't like to dine all the time in restaurants when I travel. Sometimes I just want to grab something simple to bite and maybe just grab one or two beers to kick back on. And that is when I go to grocery stores and supermarkets. And if you go to supermarkets, you're definitely going to need the card that I'm going to mention next. And the card is City Strata Premier. This card is very powerful when it comes to the multiplier. First of all, it's going to give you 3 times the point at any supermarket. And we're talking about international ones. We're not just talking about US supermarkets. Remember that the gold, Amex Gold card does give you 4 times the point at supermarket, but those are only limited to US supermarket. This one is international. I tried it in Lisbon, I tried it in Dubai, I tried it in Paris, I also tried it in Bordeaux as well. And there are also other multipliers that's gonna be very useful when you are traveling abroad that are associated with this particular card. For example, if you need to pay for fuel, whether the the car is gas car or whether it's an EV, you get 3 times the points in that sense. And you can also use this card as a restaurant card. It's going to give you 3 times the point for that. And if you don't have a co-branded card for hotel super chains, then you should use this card to pay for hotel. And as I mentioned, if the restaurant at the hotel is branded as a hotel and you use this card, you're still gonna get 3 times the points. So if you're uncertain about a restaurant at a hotel, you should basically use this card to pay for that. This card does have $95 of annual fee, but to me, the multipliers and everything are basically worth it. So the next categories I would like to talk about would be anything related to travel. I'm talking about travels at the destination. So it's not about flight or not about booking rental cars. To me, any kind of travel related expenses can be covered with these two card systems. So one is the Sapphire, the other one is the Strata Premier card. For example, if you want to pay for public transport, use the Sapphire card. That's going to code as other travel. And if you need to pay for tolls while you are driving a rental car, use the Sapphire for the toll because that's going to code as other travel as well. And if you want to pay for gas or EV charging, use the City Strata Premier card. It's going to give you 3 times the point. We have to be careful here. Sometimes some other card might give you higher multiplier. For example, the Freedom card. Sometimes they do have revolving categories for 5 times the point on gas station for that particular quarter. However, we need to remember that Freedom cards come with foreign transaction fee. So we don't want to pay that extra fee to get those points. It's just moot in that sense. So finally, what we want is something that is universal, something that can help us to catch some of the expenses that doesn't fall on a specific category, or usually those categories we don't have any kind of multipliers for. For example, when I was in Dubai, I went for a desert safari. It was a great experience. I never been to a desert before, and I never been with animals that's that close. Basically, it was a great experience. And if you want to buy gifts from some kind of boutique store, you sometimes also need a card like that to catch these universal expenses as well. So let's look at what card is my choice when it comes to universal expenses. So my choice for universal spending would be Capital One's Venture X card. This card is going to give you 2 times on every spending. Now, that is a very good multiplier given that there's no categories involved. So it is on everything basically. And that is one of the reasons why I always keep this card around me. But there are also very great perks that comes with this card as well. For example, the 300 annual credits when you book through the Capital One travel portal. So you do have to book through their portal in order to get that 300 annual credits. And I know a lot of people don't like to book through a third-party portal because usually you don't get the elite status. For example, if you have elite status with Hilton and you book through some travel portal, you probably won't be able to use that elite status, or you won't be able to accumulate those points or accumulate those nights for elite status either. But Capital One Venture X is special. So first of all, this card is going to give you the Hertz President Circle status for rental car. And this is the highest status for Hertz. And the President Circle status, one of the biggest perks with this is that for most of the big airports, when they have a big garage, you can basically pick any car from that garage and then just drive without. It's that good, basically. And the good thing with Venture X is that even when you book through their portal, you're still gonna get that particular status. And when you pay for rental car through that portal using Venture X, you're gonna get 10 times the points. Not to mention, this is also a good way to use that $300 of annual credits to get that credits in a sense. And on top of that, you also get the collision waiver. So if you have bumps on your car, Capital One is going to help you with that. You don't need to pay out of pockets as well. And also on top of that, you also gonna get 10,000 points whenever you pay and settle the annual fee every year. And that 10,000 point can be transferred to different transfer partners through the Capital One system. And very, very importantly, which I love about Capital One, which is also very unique to Capital One, are their lounges. I love their lounges. It has great design. They have really great food. And the whole package is just so great. I'm going to make a separate videos about Venture X specifically, and also going to talk about these lounges in details. But I really prefer Capital One lounges than most of the lounges out there. To me, they are even better than the Centurion Lounge. And on top of that, you also get some kind of a hotel program. If you book, which I believe is through their portal, for specific collections of hotel, like the Premier Hotel Collection and Lifestyle Hotel Collections, you can get some kind of experience credits. So these credits are like usually $100 or $50 you can use for dining while you are at the hotel. So sometimes you can also use it for spa or any kind of experiences while you're staying at a hotel. So this is very similar to what Amex is doing with their hotel collection as well. And this card is going to cost you $395 annual fee. However, remember that you have 300 annual credits, which is not that difficult to use. And also, you're going to get 10,000 points every year. So to me, that completely offset this particular annual fee. And a little bit more about Capital One cards. I advise people to get Capital One cards as soon as they have established the system with Chase, even if it means like burning one slot for the 524. Mainly because Capital One, especially for the Venture X card, they need you to have excellent credits. But Capital One sometimes have problem approving people with excellent credits. So if you have a very long credit history and with a lot of accounts on your credit file already, they don't really like to approve you. And that's my situation basically. Although I have the Venture X card, but mainly because I got the Venture X card right after I got my Sapphire card. Right now, if I want to get any other Capital One cards like the Savior card, I basically can't get it unless I just don't apply for card for like 1 or 2 years. It's that difficult to get approved for their cards. So therefore, I would advise people to get their card as soon as they have got the Freedom cards with Chase and also the Sapphire cards with Chase. If you think the information is helpful, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel. I will also leave a few of the referral links for the credit cards that I mentioned in the video at the video description below. please consider using them for your applications. That would really help the channel and also help me to bring more information about credit card points and how you can redeem for those points in the future. See you next time.